Hello. Hello. Let me know who's in the chat. We've got 11 odd people here to begin with, so let's try and run those likes up straight away so we get going in terms of people getting in. We've been hitting some really good numbers in the last few days. Last few days of streams have had close to 100 likes by the end. So firstly, let me know you're here, or evening. Oh, it's evening for you, Quaz. Morning, Connor / evening for you. Let's go. Good to see you. 1-2 pivot. Let's go. Good to see you. Like I say, run those likes up. Let's get this stream popping early doors and continue the momentum that we've had lately. In today's stream, we'll talk about the Flamengo game. I'll answer some questions going into it. Reece James, afternoon. That's true, actually. I didn't even clock when you said morning, Kaz. It's also afternoon for me because it is now 10 to 1 in the UK. Afternoon, Reece. James. Hello, Connor. Hello, Edam. Or was it Edam? Let me know. Good to see you. Keep those messages coming in. Let's see who's here. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat today. And then we'll get into the talking about the Flamengo game is what we're going to do in today's stream. That's the main thing we're going to cover. So obviously on screen now you can see pretty much how we played against what do you call it? Who do we play? LAFC. Normally watch these streams later in a podcast form, so good to catch it live for once. See, 1-2 pivot. I had this conversation in the last stream. So, because I was sort of saying, and I'm assuming you've heard this conversation if you've watched the last stream as a podcast. I was wondering how many people do that. I am really intrigued because, like I say, I do think it lends itself towards that. You don't always have to look. Yes, there's points on the tactic board where we go through a few things in a little bit more detail, but I do think it can be sort of perceived as podcast form for sure. You got it right. Damn nice. You're an Aussie, Kaz. You're an Aussie. Been to Australia, really nice place. Really liked it. I went to Brisbane. That was very, very good. Bit hot, but yeah. Oh, you said it because I brought it up in the last stream. Yeah, I'm really intrigued by it. I am because yeah, I like to sort of know how people consume the content. And yeah, I do think it lends itself towards that. Right, should we get into it? We've got 7 likes to begin with. We've got 11 people in the stream. I'll try and let me quickly retweet it just so that we get a few more people in, hopefully, as we're going. But we will start by talking about... Let me repost. Me quickly. Okay. You pronounce Brisbane correctly. How do other people pronounce Brisbane? Brisbane, I guess, is how some people do it. Yeah, I did Brisbane. I went to Sydney on like a 3-day sort of trip whilst we was in Brisbane, and I did the Sydney Bridge, climbed all that, did all that stuff. Been to like the Gold Coast, quite a few. Like, whilst we were there about a month. So I have went to a few different places. Didn't get to go to I want to go back and go to sort of like Melbourne and those sort of places. But yeah. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the team. Firstly, Flamengo. What I just want to point out about Flamengo, and something that I've been trying to point out about this entire Melbourne and Brisbane wrong. Oh, interesting. The South American teams in this tournament, they are here to prove a point. And I said this from the very first game, and it is proven correct this entire first round. Boca Juniors, River Plate, Flamengo, Fluminense. Who's the other one? Forgetting one. Botafogo is another one, but I'm pretty sure I'm missing another one as well. Oh, Palmeiras. Of course, Esteval. All of those teams, they're showing that it's the intensity that they can play at. They can cause teams problems. They are willing to go man for man in more or less every position on the press. They are hard on the tackle. They will not stop. They can deal with the intensity in this heat is a very key factor as well. And you can definitely tell they're here to prove a point. In comparison, a lot of the European sides have sort of gone into games trying to start a little bit slower, sort of recycle play. And I think a few of them have been caught off guard by just how intense the opposition teams have been, especially those from South America. So that is definitely something that I think we need to sort of take into account when we're sort of building this squad is they're going to come at us. I don't think this isn't going to be one of those games where they sit 5 men behind the ball. Like, they sit a block of 5 and a block of 4 in front. I do not think that's going to happen. I think they are going to come at us and try to overwhelm us in conditions that we're not used to playing in. That's how I see it. Morning, Zach. Good to have you here, my guy. Where are we? Sorry, I lost my spot there. There we go. So yeah, I do think that Flamengo are going to go at us in that sense. So when we're building this team, what do we want to see in it? Now, plenty of rotation, I think, is going to be key because, like I said, the conditions we played a few days ago, we need to keep this squad fresh and hopefully ready, and we need to make sure that everybody's ready to play their part if we do get through the groups, which is obviously that's something that should happen. Now, we want to top the group, in my opinion. A lot of people are saying to avoid PSG, but I would rather get that round of 16 game against someone like a Benfica, or even, I think was it Boca Juniors who played them? Sorry, I was just reading the chat. So I would want that round of 16 game, and then I think we can test ourselves against PSG. I really do. I'm excited for the prospect of testing ourselves against PSG. But rotating the squad and keeping it fresh is important for me. Now, does that mean all 11 players should change? No. I think there needs to be a little bit of familiarity, I guess, in the team. So what I would say is, as much as I would love Penders to start, because everybody wants to see it, I think this game Sanchez stays in goal. I think if we win this game, maybe we could see Penders or Jorgensen. Probably Jorgensen, just because of, they'll try to be fair with it in the third game. Sorry. Now, how does the rest of this team line up? Now, let's put it back into sort of the nominal formation to begin with. We'll pick our team, and then we'll sort of say how we think it could shape up on the ball. Now, like I say, I think there needs to be some good rotation in this. I will get to the rest of the chats in a minute, by the way. Morning to Paddy, and I will touch on this from you, Zach, in a minute. But the changes I would make, like I say, high intensity. So take that into account. A few days later, hot weather, high intensity. Maresca's even said that we need to use our squad because we're at the end of the season. People are going to be flailing, and it's going to get like that. I would probably keep Colwell in as well. Again, that familiarity. Now, Cucurella, there was a point in last game where he was hobbling. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of risking him. I would take him out and I would start Gusto at left back. That's the first thing I would do. Is it ideal? No. But would I do it for the sake of protecting Cucurella? I would. Vice versa with Achimpong in and James out, same thing. Again, as well, if they're going to press us, I actually really like the idea. And of course, James is brilliant at this too. So I'm not saying, Achimpong gives us this that James doesn't. But I would put Achimpong in because in a game where they're likely to press, I think his ability to sort of carry the ball will actually be key to beating that man and getting us out that first phase of pressure without having to pass through the Flamengo press, but actually carry through. So I think that's an important factor. And then at right centre-back, I would give Chalobah his minutes. I would put him in alongside Colwell. We've seen it worked towards the end of the season, Chalobah and Colwell. It's a shame because, yes, I do want to see Sarr, but again, a bit like Penders, I think you need to be somewhat realistic with it and when we're going to sort of throw them in. So that's another factor. Now that we've done the defence, let me just really quickly go through these. Off topic just quickly, but I was in Atlanta for our first game. Delap's movement was immense. So excited about him. So good, the movement, Zach. I'm not sure if you saw my tweets about him. I did a short on TikTok and YouTube. I spoke about it in the other stream. I've been waxing lyrical about Delap's movement. Delap was my secondary striker signing. I've been telling people this for ages. It went Osterman number 1, Delap number 2, Gyökeres number 3. That was my top 3 if I could make a striker signing. So Delap, I am absolutely over the moon with, and I think we saw exactly what we want to see from him in such a short amount of time. And yeah, Zach saying so good. Kalius, what's up? Maresca is going to rotate the squad. That's what we're talking about now, and I do think it's key. I do think we will need to do that in these conditions. You like Delap and think it's a good signing, but at the same time, I think his hype around him has been a bit hyperbolic. It's like hyperbole, isn't it? He's a good Premier League level player. I doubt he will become a European elite. I don't hate, and you're saying no complaints on him for 30 million, so that's fair. Fair enough. And we're gonna speak about this, George, so don't worry. I do think he can hit the ground right. I do think he can. He has that level of he's got the striker instinct, he's got the build, and he's got the determination to be an elite. The level of elite depends. So I agree with that. I don't like being the best striker in the world. Dependent. But I know what you mean. You'd bring in Enzo, Santos, and Delap. Unfortunately, I think we have to play Madueke and Neto. So, right, Zach, here we go. Let's get into the midfield. So that's the defence I would play. Midfield. This is why I didn't want to start Lavia in the last game, because I actually think he's perfect for this game against Flamengo. Like I say, because of how hard they're going to press us, and they're going to be so intense, I think having his press resistance would have been so key to allowing them to sort of step onto us and then spinning out and attacking these half spaces effectively. However, now that we've played him, I want to protect Lavia, and for me, the fit of him playing against a good Flamengo team that I think would be useful, the idea of keeping him fit outweighs that for me. So I would take out Casado and Lavia, and I would put in Andre Santos and Enzo Fernandez as the two. I would then probably keep Palmer in, although I am slightly concerned again with the sort of keeping him fresh and thinking about giving him a rest, a little bit like Cucurella. In which case, maybe you throw Dewsbury Hall in, but I'm gonna leave Palmer there for now because I do still think like this is a game of what we want to win. So I could see Palmer starting and coming off early. Unfortunately, I agree with Zach. I think George didn't do enough in his cameo the other day to I think if he'd have come on and been significantly better than Madueke, who was also poor, then there would have been a case for him to start. But I don't think he was. And I would swap out Jackson for Delap because I just think that's fair considering the last two games. I thought Jackson was good. So again, in this game, I'd expect it to just be the other way around in this game. The last game, Jackson played about 60, Delap played about 30, other way around. Delap starts the game, he plays the first 60, Jackson comes in for the last 30. I think that's a fair way of doing it. I think they both played well in the first game. Let's see how they do in the second game. And I would like to see this duo start together as well and have a little bit of a longer period on the pitch. So that's where I'm at. You saying Enzo and Santos cannot play together, it must not happen. Santos is not a DM. It's better to play one of them with Sugo. Again, in most other circumstance, I would agree. But Santos didn't play, so for me, he has to start. Enzo was brilliant when he came on, and again, we know. So the only difference that you could do here is starting Enzo where Palmer is. So he's basically the 10, but you're almost playing a 4-3-3. And then you bring Asugo in here. And then that way, Asugo's your sitter. Santos is sort of like your box-to-box. He's like the Enzo role. And then Enzo is more or less fixed in the half space in this role. The other thing that you could do is have them quite fluid, Santos and Enzo, if it was a midfield three. So I wouldn't hate that if you want to rest Palmer. And I somewhat agree in terms of saying, obviously, it lacks a bit of steel, Enzo and Santos. But you saying he's not a DM, I think that's quite disingenuous to his skill set because he is a very good ball recovery specialist in the middle of the park. He's got that in him. I agree that he's an 8 by trade, but he has also said, like, he's more or less all season at Strasbourg, he was playing as a 6, what he calls a 5. So, and like you were saying, Zach, introduced a 4-3-3 system this season. That's an absolute dream. It is in certain games. I've been trying to say this because I don't want Cole Palmer pinned out on the right. And I've got a video that's coming out later today, which speaks through about 4 different systems that we could see. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that because I've got that literally edited. So pretty much as soon as we come off stream today, gonna get that uploaded and that'll probably be out like 5 o'clock UK time. So that'll be another one for you guys to enjoy. You think Guillou might start? I don't think Guillou will start when Delap hasn't started yet. But again, we could see him maybe for some minutes. Bruce G hits giving us the like the stream. I haven't actually called that out yet, so please do like the stream. I'm going to take a swig of my drink. We're on 18. I'm going to refresh that in 30 seconds. We've got 44 people in the house. Can we at least get that to 40 likes? That would be unbelievable. We really do need to just keep hitting the goals that we keep setting. Like I said, the last few days we've been hitting about 100 likes on the stream, which has been unbelievable. I've been very, very happy about it. So please, please, please drop a like, as it does help me out a lot. Let's have a refresh, see where we're at. 23. That's only 5 more. Come on. I'm going to refresh that again in 5 minutes. Please run that up. 40 plus. Let's go. Run that up. Right. Where were we? Why not play Jorgensen due to Flamengo press and also opportunity to try all 3 keepers? Again, it could happen. Like I say, I just think I don't want to change too much. So I feel like in this scenario, we've only actually kept sort of 4 the same. And then if you take the keeper out as well, it's just another level of that. So, and Colwell might not even start. It might be Buddy Shield. So that's sort of where I'm at with starting Sanchez. But I wouldn't be mad if Jorgensen played. Kaz's got a question for Zach there, so I'll let you two have a little chat about that. Because like I say, I'll be discussing that in the video later. So if you guys want the answer to that question, watch the video later on today where I discuss 4 systems that we could see at this Club World Cup for Chelsea. And I'm excited about all of the ideas and prospects of all of them, to be fair. Not a fan of the idea of Jackson off the left, but we can't afford to have Nani on the left again unless Gusto's right foot on that side somehow compensates. Yeah, that's sort of where that's the issue. Obviously, we've not got so like let's speak about how it would look on the ball, because again, this is sort of where it could have a bit of an issue. Well, I actually think, like, let's say it is like this. Let's say that Enzo starts in the 10 and Palmer doesn't start. What we could actually see, and again, a lot of people ain't gonna like this. What we could actually see is, and actually I'm not too much of a fan of this now that I think about it, purely because it leaves Chalobah as the central centre-back. But, so maybe Tosin starts again. But Gusto could go and do what Cucurella was doing in that half space, because I think he can do it. I think he has the carrying ability and the mobility and the counter-pressing engine that I like to have in that role when a fullback pushes in. That would allow Santos to still operate as a little bit deeper. And again, it could mean Enzo drops into here as well, if Santos does sort of foray forward a little bit centrally. And that shape could allow Chelsea to operate well with the wings, again, nice and high, nice and wide, the lap in his usual role. So that is something. However, like I say, Cole starting as the left centre-back and Chalobah as the central centre-back, not ideal. So the other option would be Gusto to start as the left centre-back, shuffle everything over, and Achampong to sort of push up into defensive midfield. So it would almost be like this. Achampong and Asugo. But like I say, I kind of want Achampong's carrying in this role so that we can sort of beat the press by swinging play to one side and using the carrier in the wide centre back position. And I think Chalobah, he can do this, but I think Achampong can do this even better. So let me just put that back to how I had it before, because I think that that's slightly, as much as I wouldn't ideally want Chalobah central centre back, I think this could provide a little bit more balance. Let's have a look. The favourite way Maresca used our midfield this season was second half against Newcastle with 10 men. But the thing is, that's quite disingenuous as well, because that had Enzo Fernandez out on the wing, essentially. So obviously, like, you're plugging positions to get more players on the pitch in a certain way. So, like, I understand, like, again, it worked well in the second half and it was a good tweak at the time, but it's not the sort of thing that you start games with. You throw Madueke on the right and Net on the left, vice versa. I think it depends on the game. I think Madueke struggled in the last game massively. I think he kept getting trapped inside. I prefer Madueke on the right because he can do more of what we want from him. But again, in this sort of game with the lap, if the lap's going to start, I kind of want Neto on the right. Although I don't mind it either way, because Neto's crossing is what I want to sort of use. So whether you do one half one way and the other half the other way, so whether Neto starts on the left, and then when you bring on Tyreek George, you throw Neto over to the right and take Madueke off. But I want to see the different sort of combinations between Neto and the lap. I think that's something that we need to sort of utilise and have a little look at a little bit more. So yeah, same question. Where would you get the width? So that's what you're talking about there. What do you think is our most urgent position of need? Left wing, goalkeeper, left back cover, in that order. Left wing for me, 100%. I want Gittins really, really badly. The more work I do on him, just the more convinced I am. I remember tweeting a little while ago how convinced I was on him before Chelsea were even linked. Then we got linked, and if anything, like, people, they started to sort of panic about it. I do think he'll trick a lot of people. Like, not trick, that's the wrong word. He'll win over a lot of people as long as they're patient with him. And that's my only thing about the signing, is I'm worried how much time he'll get given by the fans, because I do think if we can use him properly and we can sort of integrate him properly, the fit is perfect. You want the width from James and Nkunku. How would that set up? 1-2 pivot. Spurs away pivot. That's how I want Enzo profiled. Yeah, that is the best way. That is definitely his best sort of. And again, because then he still arrived in the box for his goal, right? He still arrived from deep, and he can still do that effectively. Let's quickly check how many likes we're up to, because I did say 40 and we're on 23. We were on 23. We're on 30, so it's getting better. We're creeping up. Anyway, that's the team I would go for. Out of 10, if that team was to start, Chalobah, yes, I see. This is, so Seb, you've just joined. This is what I was just saying. I don't ideally want this, because I would prefer, but I'm so hell-bent on resting Cucurella that I basically have Gusto at left back. The only other thing that I could think of is Achimpong plays the left centre back, Chalobah right centre back, Colwill there, and then Gusto inverts from the right. Enzo plays there, so it kind of ends up like this on the ball. And in terms of no Palmer, again, I actually think this could be that with Palmer in there as well, but it just depends on how much rest they want to give. The main ones I want to see start is I want both of these two to start, both South American as well, like playing against Flamengo. I think it's just to deal with the intensity, I think would be a good idea. Like, yes, Caicedo brings that, of course. Like, if you could start Caicedo every single game, every single minute, you would. But I just think it's a good chance to rest him. Like I say, I would have done it differently, because I think this is our toughest game. So I would not have started Lavia and Caicedo in the first game. But that's what we've sort of gone for. So Sarah's left centre back. See, but this is technically the left back off the ball, IB. So on the ball, it turns into this, but then off the ball, it's obviously, that's the back four, that's the pivot, that's the 10. So I would not be playing Sar, unless you mean instead of Colwill. What about both Jackson Delap up front, narrow four of Lavia, Enzo, Caicedo, and Palmer, then width from fullbacks in James and Nkunku. We can talk about this idea, because I haven't actually done that. I didn't speak about that one on my video that's coming out today. I spoke about a different usage of Jackson, which I'll tease now, and I'll let you guys watch it in the video later tonight. But I didn't talk about this exact way that you're talking about 1-2 pivot. So let's quickly experiment with that. So Cucurella in. Let's put Gusto here just for now, because I know you said it about Reece, and this is what we're going to touch on, Zach. How people are going to have to, how it'd have to work. So hang on, where were we? So you had Lavia in there, so it'd be Enzo, Lavia, Caicedo, Palmer, like this. And then it would be Delap, Jackson. To be something like this, right? Now, if you're going to get the width from both of these players, it's not that it couldn't work at all, because it could. My main thing would be, in the first phase of build-up, if you started with a shape, how are you stretching the pitch? Because if you're going to stretch just with the central players, the fullbacks are probably going to step on, and then you're going to be really tough to play out from the back. So in that first phase of play, do you send Jackson into here to pin the right back? Do you send the lap wide as well, or do you send one wide, one, and sort of switch it up? That's something to sort of take into account. Because in that from that first phase of the goal kicks, that would be something that worries me. But let's say that we sort of there's a way that we navigate that. We move forward, we're on the ball. our on-ball shape. We're still starting in this shape, but you want the width is now coming from Cucurella and Gusto. So that's your width. You've then technically got two in the middle and Palmer. So again, you've sort of got Jackson who can roll into this half space and the middle. Buildup who can roll into this half space and the middle. Palmer who can be the free roam. And then again, you've got Enzo who can drop high to low. Casado drop high to low. Where are we? Etc. So it'd essentially be looking somewhat like this. Now, my two issues with this. In sustained pressure, there's so much, because these two are the ones pinned out wide. Palmer's all the way inside, because that's in this position, that's where he'd be. Like, he'd be central. The support that you've got is Enzo and Casado, who are more central players. The ability to take on a man 1v1 in both of these sides of the pitch is nigh on non-existent. So if you're sustaining pressure for long periods of time and you can't break them through passing and they force you on the outside, then you are going to be relying on Gusto and Cucurella, but less so even Cucurella, finding an angle for the cross. And it's going to come from their own little bit of shiftiness, which I don't think neither of them really have. Gusto has it slightly more. That's where I'm at. The other thing, as Zach pointed out, is the rest defense. Now, the left side, I actually don't think is too bad because I think Jackson would work really hard back. Enzo, whilst he's not he is not. The rest defense essentially is still a 2-3, 2-3, but it's the personnel that instead of having, say, Cucurella in this, where you'd usually have him in, and you'd have Enzo in the pocket and you'd have a winger, for example. What you've now got is Cucurella further forward, so he's further away from the action to be able to counter press. Jackson would have to work even harder. They'd both have to work hard off the ball to get back. Palmer's a little bit more protected, so that's something. But Enzo is very exposed here. Casado and Lavia, they can cover that side. But again, Gusto, he's far out of position. So two of your better counter pressers in Cucurella and Gusto are further away from play. They're pinned out on the touchlines. They're further away from impacting the play. So that's sort of where I'm at in terms of the intensity of this counter press, especially on Enzo's side. However, of course, there is positives that come from it, and this is something I do want to see at some point when we're chasing a game. So that's where I'm at with that. Like I say, there's something today coming out on the channel, which is going to speak about a few different ways that this could work. And I'm intrigued what you guys think. Based on what I've just said, would you still risk this team to have a look at it? Or do you think there's too many sort of... too many downsides to it? Saar left centre back, Cole central centre back, Trev right. So you're basically saying that Saar plays as the left back off the ball? Yeah, see, Zach wouldn't play it, so I hear that for sure. IB, so you're saying Saar plays left back off the ball? I wouldn't do that. We're on 34 likes, by the way, guys. Keep running that up. We've got 40 people in the building. This should be on 40 likes minimum, please. And Nkunku left wing, Gusto overlapping from left back. Again, I guess you could. I'm just a little bit off on starting Nkunku now because I think the writing's on the wall for where he is and like what's happening with him. So I'm just in a point where I don't really want him to play. That it does kind of look like what Man City are trying to do. I think next season we're going to see a little bit more. Obviously, yesterday they started with both fullbacks inverted alongside Reinders, which works quite well in terms of like little bits of interconnectivity. They're a little bit more fluid in the middle of the park. That was interesting to see. I'm quite intrigued by City this year. They're one that I'm going to be watching quite closely. You meant more of a 4-2-2-2, so Palm provides one fullback support and Enzo provides the other fullback support. Hang on, so you meant it instead of... Oh, so you meant it sort of like this. But in this, that's even worse for counter, like in terms of the counter press, because you've got these four and you've got so much space for both Palmer and Enzo to cover, and neither of them are going to do it. So that means because they're not going to put in that same level of work, this massive space is going to have to be covered by these two players. You've got two players for each side. Once one gets dragged out, the middle opens up. So I think when you're defending with four like that, you're asking for it unless you've got someone like Cucurella here Because if Cucurella was here, I would trust that gap to be filled by him, which means you can sort of cheat this side a little bit. And then obviously sort of like you have the support there. And like you've just said, it's not like we have like Van der Ven. So like, yeah, we don't have that exact profile of defender that can sort of cover those huge spaces on their own. You can see a 2-3 rest defense working at times over a 3-2. The 2-3 rest defense is absolutely fine. We actually use the 2-3 rest defense more often, even when we build up in a 3-2. So, like, for example, when Cucurella, just literally ignore this bit of the pitch. When we build up with this sort of 3-2, we build up with the 3-2, but what actually ends up happening is when we're further into their half, Cucurella steps in, that shuffles, and it is more of a 2-3 like this. Because, like I say, I've said it all season. This 3, I think it's the best rest defense. I love it. I absolutely love this rest defense. They're all aggressive. They're all tenacious in the challenge. If they miss their challenge, they're okay to just sort of, they're very tactical with their fouls. They're intense. They can press forward, sideways, and they can recover backwards. Like, they don't all have the IQ recovering backwards, like Caicedo and even Cucurella. Both of them actually struggle sort of recovering backwards at times, but they have the intensity to do it, and they will do it. So that's sort of like what we sometimes see. So when you say like the 2-3, you can see that 2-3 rest defense working. Yes, it 100% works. What about the 2-3 rest defense and replace Enzo over Sugo? And Jackson comes out to help the left back. So that was when we were talking about before. So I'm assuming that was when Cucurella was out wide. Jackson, Delap, Palmer, Gusto. So that was that shape, wasn't it? And you want a Sugo here. That's just so defensive, though, because like it's defensive, like it's good. Again, that improves the rest defense, like you said. But again, like there's even worse. Like, where is your progression by the sides? Like this team would be so dependent on crosses causing chaos and Cole Palmer just literally having a free roll to do whatever he wants. In this system, there would be quite a few glaring issues, in my opinion, and the biggest ones would be how do you affect those areas of the pitch effectively, especially with carries. Assuming we sign Kudus and Maresca decides to play him alongside Palmer as the 2 number 10s, would it affect the team when facing the low block transitional side? How do you mean affect it? In a bad way, or would it help? Kudus adds some good low block breaking qualities. He is willing to run in behind and stretch play for others. So he's willing to like sort of make the selfless runs. He can carry the ball significant distances on his own. So yes, that's better against non-low block teams. But he will look to sort of beat his man, even if it's in crowded areas. Essentially, he will look to sort of go on the outside of a block or go through. And another significant thing is he adds the chaos in terms of he will just get shots off. And that's a big thing about him in terms of how he adds to against low blocks. Zach says he doesn't want Kudus because he's left-footed, and I kind of agree. We are losing 4 right-footed attackers this summer. Felix and Kunku, Madrid, Sancho. If we go another season with angle bias, I'll be so upset. I agree. That's why I want Rodgers out. I want Gittins, 100% Gittins in, and then I'd be focusing on the hybrid attacker. I really like Kudus, and if he signs, I will back him because there's a lot of traits that I like in him. But I would agree that I would then be slightly worried about the footedness of our attack, having one right footer natural if George goes out on loan. Just don't see how Kudus really helps our issues at left wing. Yeah. He means 4-1-4-1 out of possession, but no, this isn't out of possession though. This is on the ball still, but this would be that's just the rest defense. Obviously, again, even in this formation, when you're starting a 4-1-2-1-2, like a diamond, on the ball, it would be off the ball. Sorry, it would be essentially. It would have to press like this, really. Prem talk, I would like to see it too, but I just don't think it will happen. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it. This isn't really to do with the team anymore because he was talking about the Kudus Palmer 10 comment. Oh, okay. I don't think he does though. If you're on about that, because he's talking about facing a low block transitional side. Unless he means playing Kudus as like a literal 8. So like say Casado, and then it was like both of these two, and say that's Kudus. That's the only way that would make sense for what you mean. But even then, I just don't think it would happen. Where are we at? But yeah, this team isn't actually really to do anything now. Like now we're just sort of going over a few. We do actually do the 4-1-4-1 out of possession though, Zach. Really, like if we were to do our normal, like what we actually do is Casado stays there. We press with Palmer and Enzo, sort of here. We do sort of press like this to begin with, and then what would then happen usually is like we press like that high up, sort of from goal kicks, and then Palmer presses forward more, and it sort of flexes into a 4-4-2 more like that. But it does sort of start in the 4-1-4-1 mold, which a lot of elite teams are doing. So for me, it's how long you keep the 4-1-4-1, because I think if you keep it for too long, too deep into your own half, the issue is then the spaces either side of the defender, and then when one cheats one way, you end up with a huge gap to cover. That's my big issue with the 4-1-4-1, especially the way Liverpool do it. Oh, okay, I see. João Pedro is my pick for that left attacker, and getting his backup. Yeah, I don't hate it. João Pedro isn't my number one pick, but where some people don't see it at all, I can see what they want in that profile. But yeah, he wouldn't be my number one choice. You always saw as a 4-4-2, 4-2-4 up possession with Palmer joining Jackson as second striker. Yeah, like I say, he does it as we drop a bit deeper. Palmer does do that. But what you'll often realise, especially from goal kicks, is both Enzo and Palmer are often sort of operating on the same line. And that's often the way that we then jump and we change from a 4-1-4-1 to a 4-4-2 is actually why Maresca switched their positions round at times. Because say one of the midfielders has a tendency to go more into this zone and one has a tendency to go more in here. What he didn't want in certain games, I think one of them was the Bournemouth game, he swapped them at half time because Palmer was getting dragged into here and Enzo was basically staying on the carrier. So what he did is that's why he put Palmer on the left and he moved Enzo over, because it just was more the positioning with the two deeper and the one higher was more sort of, what's the word, familiar for those players. Is Chelsea better off finishing second in the Club World Cup group to get a favourable knockouts route? I don't think so. I'd rather finish top, get Benfica or River Plate in that first game, get through to that, and then once we're in the quarterfinal, move from there. Because even if we come second in the group, who do we get in the round of 16? Can't our round of 16 games be like really tough? For me, let's get to the round of 6. Let's beat the round of 16, get to the quarterfinals, and then if we're playing against, yeah, unreal, wouldn't it? Enzo, Boca. I keep saying River Plate. I meant Boca. It could be so good. Get to the round of 16, play that, win that, and then let's test ourselves against PSG. I'm more than happy to test ourselves against PSG. I think it'd be really good for this team. Really good experience for the team. I do. 35 likes. Can we get 5 more at least, chat? I'll answer a few more questions. But we're probably going to end this in a minute because this was more so just to preview the game. We did sort of spoke about the team that we'd start. I might also do a playback stream today, guys. So if you guys want to sort of like join my playback, go check my Twitter after this and I'll put that up when I do it. Oh, I don't know about that, Kaz, at all. But for me, Pochettino, he would have got, like, we may have finished 4th this year with Poch, but beyond that, there was just nowhere we could go. I think that would have been like the absolute, like, we can't go anywhere from there. Whereas with Maresca, we finished 4th, and for me, the ceiling is way beyond now. I speak to Stefan, so I speak to John a lot, the guy who does the videos for that. and he came to me sort of like to speak about that video when he was making it. What he didn't do is mention that he was going to put Theo Hernandez forward. He spoke to me about like Gerald Hato and a few other sort of like squad dynamics. So we spoke about that. I don't agree with the Theo Hernandez thing, personally. But they're brilliant at what they do. So like they're like, I just personally don't agree with that specific choice. I think Gerald Hato makes a lot more sense, for example. Esteval Watch, I can't tonight. I've got football literally so they kick off at 5. I've got 5 aside at 6. And I have to leave before that, so I will not have a chance. Really like Noosa. I would not go for Pino, not anymore. Sort of, I don't think his level is quite there. I think he's a half decent player. So Kaz, I'm gonna have to rewatch it. So like I just said, I got 5 aside, unfortunately, which overlaps that. So I'm gonna have to ignore it, and then when I get home, I'll just watch from the start. So I will watch it, but it won't be live, unfortunately. Just frustrating seeing managers unable to work with players like Chilwell or Sterling, who aren't perfect but could have contributed. But it's the wages as well. Like, do you really want to keep Chilwell and Sterling around on a bit part, barely get any usage out of them anyway, but also be paying them 200, 300 grand a week? And then because they're only bit part players, it'll be even harder to shift them. I think the idea of loaning them out, whilst it hasn't worked, I think the idea was there. Because if Sterling had gone to Arsenal, played a better role there, scored a few goals, and slightly raised his value, and then not even value, but just like desire for somebody to take him on, even with the wages, that's when that could have been effective. I think our ceiling is capped till we overhaul our wingers. Can't win the league with the wingers we have now. I still think when you say capped, I agree, because I don't think we can win the league with the wing set that we currently have without making like the left wing additions. But I don't think we've reached the cap yet. I still think there's more that you can eke out of the likes of Neto and Madueke. So I don't think we've hit a wall yet, but I agree that there's a certain point that we won't be at. Like, there will be a time where it caps. Can't believe that you prefer Poch. Yeah, we're just so open. And it's something that I tried to tell people throughout the whole season. And like, it only really came to fruition right at the end of the season that people actually started to sort of see what I was trying to say, even back in December, is that we're not controlling games to blow teams out of the park and play this ridiculously like one-touch tick-attack of football. We're doing it because it will get the most out of our defenders. We'll be best placed to keep clean sheets, and like, people didn't realize how much we was like towards the end of the season. The back 4 personnel barely changed, but was keeping loads of clean sheets in comparison. It's because of the overall unity that was formed. 6 months it was away, so we can't loan them. We wouldn't have used him though. We had Vega at the time, who was a better fit for the system. So like, how would we have used him? I wouldn't have put him in the team. Would I be worried about it? I think Santos depends. I think Santos does a good enough job, so I wouldn't be like ridiculously worried. If it was a Premier League game, yes, I'd probably want a bit more physicality. But for like a one-off game now, or even like an easier Prem game, then yeah, it's not something that I wouldn't do at all. I think he's much closer to Diego Costa, Lugstars. I sort of hear, I guess what he means is like the sense of outlet play, and like his way of sort of bringing others into play and sort of being a one-man wrecking ball. But in terms of, for me, he's more like Costa, like I said in the video that I made about him, because of his tenacity and the way that he attacks the ball, and the fact that he will just never let a duel go on uncontested. Yeah, I agree. I would like Vega in as the backup. No point in using them if they're not good enough. Yeah. Would you? Oh, sorry about that. Are you surprised people's opinion on Kudus? I would get rid of Noni to bring him in, but it seems a lot of people are against that. I'm surprised that a lot of people are like really against it, but it's all dependent on price point and other moves that we make for me, because I like Kudus individually. But it just depends. Noni, do I think Noni starts on the right? Honestly, I have no idea. if I had to put a bet on, I'd probably say no. I'd probably just say they start the same. But what I was basically saying is maybe start Neto on the left, get the first half of him with the lap from the left so that you've got Neto getting to the byline, putting crosses in. And then when you make the sub Noni out in like the second half, put Neto over, and then put Tyreek on. Because that way you then still get a bit of time with Neto on the right. So that's what I would do. I think we're going to end there. Please drop a like if you haven't already. We've been going for 50 minutes and it's getting very hot. And like I said, I've got a video coming out in the next... Video will be out in 2 to 3 hours. So keep an eye on the channel. That video will speak through all the systems that we could see in this Club World Cup. So please do drop a like when you see that. Subscribe. All that good stuff to support the channel. And on that note, I will see you guys in the next one. See you later.